After a year of high and low-level attacks on the press and the First Amendment, there's plenty to appreciate in Steven Spielberg's new movie, The Post, which some people around here believe should be called The Times. With a focus on the as-yet untested Washington Post publisher Katharine Graham, played by Meryl Streep, The Post tells the story of how portions of a classified government study about the Vietnam War made their way into her newspaper. The Post began to run stories based on the top-secret study which provided evidence that the Nixon, Johnson, and Kennedy administrations had lied to the public about the war effort and its chances for success only after the New York Times published articles quoting from it in summer 1971. The Nixon administration challenged the Times aggressively, accusing it of violating the Espionage Act and winning a temporary court order that blocked the newspaper from publishing more of what became known as the Pentagon Papers. As it casts a journalism era of analog technology and smoky newsrooms in an idealistic light, the movie makes the point that leaking to the press can be a principled act, a point that is certainly in order at a time when President Trump and his anti-press supporters equate leaking with treason. Daniel Ellsberg, a former Marine and military analyst, brought the Pentagon Papers to the Times, and later to the Post, motivated by an all-American notion that the nation's citizens had the right to know more about what was going on half a world away in a war financed by their tax dollars and fought by so many of their children. M.R. Ellsberg saw it as his patriotic duty to take the documents, which he had painstakingly copied, to the press. As he has said, taking an oath as a public servant does not mean keeping secrets or obeying the president, it's respecting the Constitution. The Post is also a celebration of the keen judgment and courage of Ms. Graham. Her father granted control of the newspaper to her husband upon his death because, in those days, the only possible heir would have been male, as she wrote in her Pulitzer Prize-winning biography, Personal History. But when Ms. Graham's husband died, control fell to her. And, she wrote, I did try in some small ways, some larger, to do something about raising the visibility of women and increasing the sensitivity toward matters of particular concern to them. That work continues. The women who have bravely shared stories of harassment and abuse at the hands of powerful men this year, whether on film sets or in newsrooms, on factory floors or in congressional offices, stand on Ms. Graham's shoulders, as do the trailblazing female reporters who drew attention to their plight. Although occasionally apocryphal, The Post captures Ms. Graham's transformation to towering from timid through her decision to publish the classified documents. As she inserted herself and her newspaper into a national controversy, Ms. Graham was in the process of taking the Washington Post Company public. A standoff with the federal government could have proved devastating.